What if you could actually use math to make yourself happier? That's the basic premise of this video that I watched a few days ago, where the guy's a consultant and he does a kind of like consultancy thing, which is to take a subject that is not very scientific or measurable, apply a whole bunch of numbers to it, do some math on those made up numbers, and then hopefully at the end you come out with some kind of new insight because of this. Now a lot of people will say, okay, that's kind of like hand wavy and fuzzy, but sometimes it works, and it only takes a few minutes, so we might as well try it. Now my only problem with this video is he explains the whole process and then he shows you this chart that he conjured out of thin air and says like, see, it works. And I figure this is where most people tune out because we don't have the tool to plot this. So I made this tool for myself and for everybody else. Oh, and by the way, my motivation for doing this is to learn how to make a website in JavaScript, not because I thought this was some kind of revolutionary idea. This is the first website that I've made since I was like 15, so it seemed like a good size project to tackle. In consulting speak, it was a 10 on the learning aspect, a 3 or 4 on the utility, and like a 1 on impressing girls. Okay, so let's try it out. It's elliotblanford.com/life-strategy.html. Link is in the description. Disclaimer, it's not optimized for mobile. I think I'll do that for my next project, but I just wanted to publish this before I lost momentum. The default numbers here are actually like my personal numbers for early 2024. And you can see an example plot here. If you want to do your own and this is distracting to you, you can just hit clear all and clear them. For time, you can put the number of hours per week that you spend on each of these, importance 1 through 10, and satisfaction also 1 through 10. Okay, so let's talk about how to read this chart. Basically on the y-axis you have importance, so lower important things are at the bottom, higher important things at the top. Satisfaction, you have things that you are not satisfied with on the left, and then things that you are very satisfied with on the right. And then the size of the bubbles presents how much time you put into them. Let's start with importance. As you go from bottom to top on importance, you want to see that you are spending the most amount of times on the things that are important to you. In general, it doesn't have to be this way, but in general, you want to see smaller bubbles in low importance areas and bigger bubbles in high importance areas. And then for satisfaction, it's kind of the opposite. Like, if you're not satisfied with something, you probably want to make it a big bubble, like put some more effort into it, especially if it's important. In this corner right here, the first quadrant, if you see something that's like low satisfaction but high importance, you definitely want to put some more effort into it, right? And so for me, that's significant other. I put like a 1 on satisfaction and an 8 on importance. It's very important to me, but I don't have a significant other, so I kind of like low satisfaction there. But the other problem is like I don't put a lot of effort into it. If I want to move that over to the higher satisfaction, I probably need to put more time into it. Okay, that seems obvious, but it's very apparent when you plot it like this. On the other hand, this corner shows things that you're satisfied with, but they're not that important to you, and you might be spending a lot of time on it, or a disproportionate amount of time. So I see like online entertainment, which is like watching movies and playing video games and stuff. Satisfied, it's fun, okay. Hobbies, same thing, fun, very satisfying, but not that important to me. I might think about if I'm telling myself like I don't have enough hours in the day to have a significant other, well, maybe I can take some out of this bucket right here and say like, maybe I'll play less video games or watch less streaming movies or whatever. Or I could say like, oh, look at this, education. It's the same level of satisfaction, but it's more important. Maybe I can put some more time from online entertainment into education instead, or friendship or finances, and maybe those will shift over to the right. Basically from bottom to top, you want to see smaller bubbles getting bigger, and then from left to right, if you want to move you want to move everything to the right. Like obviously you want to be satisfied in all of these categories, but if there's one that you want to move, you should try to make it a bigger bubble. By the way, if you're a 10 out of 10 on everything, then you're lying, because why are you watching this video? If you're 10 out of 10, you're freaking Buddha, bro. Okay, so the next thing that you can do with this is look at where you were in the past and track your progress over time as far as how do your values change and how has your allocation of time changed. So what I did was I went back to about 3 months ago before I quit my job, and I put in what I think I was feeling at the time. I can't say for sure, but this is what I think I felt. And then I plotted it again. And okay, well, so I guess this is what most people's graph will look like right now, with career being the giant one that outweighs everything else, and everybody wants more work-life balance, right? And this is probably why. So let me do this. I'm just gonna artificially move career down to 5 hours, and so just so you can see everything else. On top I have my previous one, and then on bottom I have my current one. Okay, so let's look at this before on the top and say what's good about this. What's good about this is, I think if you go from bottom to top, it looks like in general there's small bubbles at the bottom and big bubbles at the top. So it means that like I think I was prioritizing my time appropriately. Besides the one glaring thing about the career being like a huge one, even though it was only a 5 for me. Maybe you could say that friendship was actually of higher importance to me than I'm saying. It was maybe not actually a 6 because I'm actually spending a lot of time with my friends. Or like on the other hand, you could say like, wow, my friends are taking up so much more of my time that I wish I could devote to like personal things instead. Depends how you want to look at it, right? But this just kind of like highlights the discontinuities between what you say you value and what you're actually doing. And then on the bad side, what's bad is I have 3 things over here. 1, mental health, which I said is the most important thing. That's a 10 out of 10, but I'm only 2 out of 10 on satisfaction. So what's going on here? I definitely put a lot of effort into like trying new things to make myself feel better, which I was doing before. I was still putting a lot of effort into my mental health. I think the big difference was I wasn't doing things to destroy my mental health. Like every day I would build myself up, and then I'd go to work, and then it would just like tear me down again. So it was like an endless cycle of up and down, up and down, up and down. But now it's more like every day I build myself up a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And then there's nothing like bringing it back down again. So that's why I say now I'm a 10 out of 10, and before I was a 2. So that's fantastic. Education. Like, education is pretty important to me. It's an 8 out of 10. But in the job that I was at, I don't think they really valued, personal growth and education. It was more like, you know what to do, just do it. And there wasn't really that much room in that role to learn and grow. So this one is pretty interesting to me, because now that I have the time to do it, or the freedom to do it, I don't spend that much time researching or learning new things, but it's just a few hours a day. But it took me from, a 4 to a 9 on satisfaction. And that only took like a few hours, not even a few hours a day, a few hours a week to bump that one up. This is one of those things where if I had done this exercise earlier, maybe I could have just been so much more satisfied by carving out some more of my personal time for education. Who knows? What else is on here? So what things actually moved to the left when I quit my job? Finances, yes. Finances, obviously, I went from a 10 out of 10. You're right. Like I was 10 out of 10 before. I was like on a great job, super secure, definitely not worried about very much. And then I quit that job, and so now I'm at an 8, which is kind of surprising to me, because I actually thought that I would be much lower, not having a job and not having any timeline to go back, right? So I'm kind of surprised by this. Like 8 out of 10 for this situation is a lot better than I thought it would feel. A career went down, right? So this is an interesting thing. Like, this is only 3 months apart. So the fact that my career feeling of importance went from a 5 to a 2. I think this is a problem, because if you look at my career importance and satisfaction just a couple of years ago, I would have said it's like a 9 out of 10 on importance and a 9 out of 10 on satisfaction. And then it started dropping. The satisfaction went down first, but still to an 8. It was not horrible. And then the importance started dropping, because I realized like, well, I'm not happy, but do I really care? And it was like, no, I'm getting to a point where I don't really need this. And so I think the big discontinuity there was like, when it was a 9 out of 10 importance, it made sense for me to dedicate all of my time to it. But as it dropped to like a 7, 6, 5 on importance, I'm still dedicating, a bulk of my time and energy to it. It's not that important to me, so there was a disconnect, right? And I think a lot of people are in this situation where you don't have a way to scale back the amount of time and effort you put into your career. It's kind of all or nothing. It's kind of like almost everybody spends 40, 50, 60 hours a week on their career, and there's no way around that. It just kind of is what it is. And the only other option is to go down to 0. So I really wish I had a good answer for how to navigate this, but for me, it was just quit completely. Take that bubble to 0 and then convince yourself that it's not that important. So it's like, yeah, I'm still working on that one. Okay, so where do I go from here? I mean, the obvious thing is to look at this and say like, okay, online entertainment is not that important to you, but you spend a lot of time on it. Take some of that time out, cut back a little bit, put it into a significant other, move that to the right. Once you find somebody, you'll probably have to reevaluate this whole thing, and that's fine. That's expected. But yeah, I think the tool is really cool. I think it's helpful. I hope you guys use it. Let me know what you think. Okay, here's one more thing that I did just for funsies, because if you've watched all the way to the end and you watch the original video, then you might feel the same way as me, and that there's one missing category in the video, which is having a European accent. This is a 23. On a 1 out of 10, this is a 23, okay? And my satisfaction is obviously 0 because I'm from California. So there's the final graph.